Hey folks, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great Monday, or at least having a Monday. Um, that just occurs to me. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Odd Life of Timothy Green. Drop him off to his first day of school, and dad says something like, "Have a great day, son," and his wife says, "Don't give him any unrealistic expectations," or something like that. And he goes, "Have the day you have, son." So I hope you're having the day that you have, but that you're doing well, and um, I hope even in some small way that I help you have a slightly better day. Man, that'd be awesome if I could have that kind of effect on people, and that's what I hope anyway. Um, so I hope you're doing well. And today, in this stream, I want to cover some really cool features of one of the illustration apps that I use called Procreate. It's one of the most popular drawing apps for iOS, for the iPad and iPad Pro. Um, the the concepts that I'm going to show, I think apply to several other drawing apps as well. So even if you don't have an iPad or an iPhone or some iOS device and can get Procreate, I think these same ideas will translate to other applications on other devices and platforms. So I know that there's an app out there um, uh, that only does this feature, and what we're talking about today is Symmetry. Symmetry is found everywhere throughout nature and lots of things, and some of what makes things beautiful and attractive and whatnot are the symmetry that we recognize. Our brains are really attuned to recognizing patterns. And, some patterns can be symmetrical or asymmetrical, or, lots of different patterns that we recognize. Like our brains are so wired to recognize facial features, especially eyes. Like we can see eyes in just about anything, in any inanimate object that has two circles or two things close together that even remotely, our imagination immediately goes to, oh, that looks like a face. And I think symmetry is is one of those kinds of things that our brains recognize, and that it kind of draws us in. So I use symmetry in some of the drawings that I create. It's a quick way for me to generate things like icons and embellishments to an existing illustration. And I love, using this technique to quickly create, a lot of cool little embellishments for a drawing. Let's see. I think there's a handful of viewers on the stream so far. I'm going to wait maybe a minute or two before I jump into drawing. Until then, those of you who are on, can you, give me a signal or something that you can hear me? that tell me about the day you've had so far, or something about what you hope to get out of these streams with me. And yes, hey, um, gosh, I won't say your real name, but from Flannel to Lace. Thank you for joining my Twitch stream today, and make some mandalas. What are mandalas? I'm sorry. I just, um, hey, Jenna. First time listening to my talks. Looking forward to it. Yeah, thank you for joining my channel today. Hopefully, I'll make this fun and entertaining. Maybe you'll learn something. Oh, good. Coming in loud and clear. I sure hope so. I have invested, a ridiculous amount into this setup that I have. Now, I'm not doing this purely for streaming, although this is a really nice benefit that I can do this. Yeah. So lace circles, mandalas. Okay, I get what you're saying now. Yeah, that's one of the things that you can do with symmetry is you can draw in a circular pattern, and whatever you draw in one quadrant of that pattern replicates around the rest of the circle. It's a really cool effect. It's real easy to create, very interesting and cool looking designs. And yeah, so I remember some folks in my family who have crocheted or knitted or something like that. And I remember my mom knitting these round, I guess they were pot holders, that you would use to hold a hot skillet or something and to move it around on the stove. And she was so tickled that she came up with a name for these called a round to it. So just something silly that my mom did. She said, like when you get around to it, now you have one, or you have a round to it. Round, yeah. Get what I'm saying, right? I hope. All right. Well, without further ado, I guess we'll get into doing some drawing. Can't think of anything else silly to talk about to kill some time. And I know you're not here for me to just babble on about stuff. So let's switch over to some drawing. I'm going to change my camera angle here, and you should now be seeing my iPad. This is an overhead view of my iPad, and I also have another view that I can switch to that is the iPad screen itself. I prefer when I'm watching someone draw, I want to see their hands. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see what things they're tapping on in the program and the application. But there may be a need as well to show you maybe some detail of the drawing that would be more clear if I were to switch to the screen and be able to zoom in on something. So you let me know which view you might prefer, or you let me know in the comments anytime you want me to switch views to see a little more detail about something. And certainly at any time, if I'm doing something and I move too quickly through a step, call me out on it, or post something in the comments so that I can go back over that and explain that again, or demonstrate that particular thing again. So I have Procreate here. Open that up, and I've got just a bunch of silly collections of different artwork and avatars and things that I do. I'm going to create a brand new drawing, and normally, a lot of times in Procreate, if you're not familiar with the application, this plus icon over here on the side is how you add a new drawing or new canvas to what you're doing. And there's a whole bunch of choices by default of different screen sizes that you can choose from, or canvas sizes. And the first one is called screen size. It just means the dimensions of the tablet or the device that you're on. So I'm going to choose that one. And now I'm in the Procreate interface, ready to start drawing. And Procreate has a lot of the same features of other drawing applications. There's a lot of tools to choose from. There's this brush library. There's you can use different brushes for smudging. That's what this second thing is. There's an eraser, and you can choose what kind of brush you want to use for an eraser. And then there's a layers section where you can add multiple layers. And that's, if you're not familiar with digital drawing, layers is probably the most powerful tool that you have at your disposal, so that you can layer different sketches and drawings and stuff on top of each other, and come up with some layered effects, and be able to sketch something on one layer and draw a final version of that on top of that, and then hide that sketch underneath. It's just really, really powerful. And then you've got a color thing over here in the corner where you can choose different colors, and I've got a defined color palette that I like to use for drawing avatars and things like that. So over here, what we're talking about today is drawing symmetry. Normally, when you draw something, I'm going to choose maybe this round brush. I think round brush is one of the brushes that comes with Procreate, so you don't have to have any special brushes to be able to do what I'm going to show you. You can use any kind of brush, any kind of effect. But normally when you draw, you just get a single line, whatever it is that you want to draw. I do have this particular brush, I have streaming turned on, which is a way of smoothing out brush strokes. So if I were to edit this brush, I could turn that off, and it would just, what it does is just kind of smooths out my curves and things like that. It makes them look a little bit better. So different, you can turn that feature on and off in a brush, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So we're talking about streaming, or streaming. Streaming is what we're doing right now. And so the thing that I want to demonstrate is symmetry. And the way you do symmetry in Procreate is you go to this wrench icon up in the top corner, top left corner, and there's a number of, in most desktop applications or something, you might consider these to be tabs across the top. They each, it's like a menu, but you have a menu that's broken up by add, canvas, share, video, preferences, and help. And when you tap on any of those things, it brings up a different set of options underneath. So the symmetry that we're looking for is under the canvas icon, and you turn it on by turning on the drawing guide. When you turn on the drawing guide, you'll see, I don't know if you can see this, but the screen now has grid lines. So if I pinch to zoom in and out, you can see those grid lines that are there. And you can use these grid lines as a guideline to drawing things that are more accurate, or more square, or whatever, that's more level, and that's great. But this is still not symmetry. What we need to do is tap on the edit drawing guide, and I'll switch back my camera here. Tap on the edit drawing guide, and that brings up the different types of guides that are available in Procreate. There's the 2D grid, which is the default that comes up. And then we have an isometric grid. There's a perspective grid where you can create It's called vanishing points. Like you can create this cool 3D perspective. Again, you probably can't see what's on my screen because the camera may not be picking up everything quite. That's what perspective looks like. And then the symmetry is that last option. And when we turn that on, it creates a single vertical line down the center of the page, and we can tap on this dot and move this around to wherever we want. We can take the other green dot and change the the axis of this symmetry. Um, let's see. You can also um, using this option up here at the top, change the color of that symmetrical line. And sorry about that. My computer goes into sleep every now and again. Yeah, so I may have to do some adjusting with the camera or the lighting for future streaming so that you can see a little more detail of what's going on. Switch back to this view, and what I'm going to cancel this for now because I want to make sure that it is perfectly, whoops, up and down. So wrench, edit drawing guide, symmetry. Now it's completely vertical. And there's also, so let's just start with this, with the line down the middle. This is the one that I use most often for doing icons and other types of embellishments. So I'm going to tap done up here in the corner, and now we're back to the canvas, and there's this single line down the middle. And what this does is we can, with whatever pen that we're using, if we draw on one side, it's going to perfectly mirror what's on the other side. Right? And there's all kinds of cool stuff we could do. We could just start doodling and drawing and coming up with whatever designs. We can even cross over and start drawing on the other side. Starting to look like some kind of apple with lungs or something. I don't know. 2-finger tap to undo. So that's a quick little Procreate tip. A lot of apps have gestures where you can do things to do and undo. If we take 3 fingers and tap, that's a redo. Like I undo it with 2 fingers, redo it with 3 fingers. Really cool. So what I like to do is when I'm drawing a sketch note, or I'm drawing a doodle for someone, or even like if you look at the banner image that's at the top of my Twitch channel, the same banner that I use on Twitter and my website, reverentgeek.com, you'll see that there's a bunch of gray icons and squiggly lines and bubbles and things that are kind of in the background of the image. And I created all of those using this symmetry feature in Procreate. So like if I draw some bubbles, it shows up on both sides of the screen. If I draw, some lines, it starts to create this really cool effect where if I have a drawing in the center of my screen, I can, um, you know, use something that goes in the background. Of course, I probably wouldn't use black because I want it to be in the background. So I would choose like a gray color or something like that. But you get the idea. So what I will do is if I'm drawing an icon for something, I will draw half of it on one side and let it fill in the other half on the other side of the line. Um, so let's take, for example, maybe I want to draw a magnifying glass. So I want to represent that I'm looking for something or I'm searching for something. So I will draw a circle, or half a circle. Maybe I will. There's another really cool feature in Procreate that I'll show you, and that is it's called quick shapes. What you do is you draw the shape that you want, but then hold down the pen. You don't let it go off of the screen, and it will create a perfectly round shape, even though you may not have done a very good job of drawing it. Um, you can draw like squares, and then well, sometimes it recognizes it as a circle. Sometimes recognizes it as a square or some other type of yeah. So there we go. So it'll snap, have a snapping effect where it turns into something more um, solid. So what I'll do is you can actually draw multiple times around and then um, move until you decide um, where you want it. Another cool tip is that as you are drawing, if you want to create a perfect circle, a perfect square, or something like that, you take one other finger and tap that on the page on the screen, and now it's a perfect circle. Like if I draw a rectangle, if it recognizes it as a rectangle, if I take one finger and tap on the screen, then it becomes, well, still a perfect rectangle, but it that time it actually helped me to snap it into a a perfect. Let's try that example again. So try something that looks more like a trapezoid. All right, so now if I press one finger, it turns into perfectly square, and I can kind of snap it in any of those directions. All right, let's back up, undo all this stuff. And what I'll do for the main part of the magnifying glass is I'll draw a circle, let it snap, press a finger, and now it's a perfect circle. And now I can start to add things like a handle, maybe there's some kind of part of the handle up at the top. Maybe we'll add a little bit of a, give it some dimension to the glass. And now I've got a pretty good looking little magnifying glass. And so what I'll do when I'm doing an illustration like this, where I'm adding icons and embellishments to a drawing, is that I'll hide all my other layers under the layers panel, and I'll set up one of these drawing guides, and I will just start creating a bunch of these icons. Once I create an icon, I'll use this selection tool that's over here. So I tap on selection and draw a selection around this, and tap on the move. I can move this off to the side, allowing me to, draw some more icons. Um, and then tap on that move arrow again to turn the selection off. And I can also, like if I want to, I can tap on that move and I can spin this around so it's not in a perfectly up and down orientation. So usually a search icon is kind of, angled as if you were holding it if you're right-handed or left-handed, right? Um, one thing about symmetry is that since I'm talking about moving and selecting and so forth, the selection tool doesn't behave with symmetry. So if I draw a selection of something on the right hand side, it doesn't automatically select what's on the left hand side. Um, I don't know if that's if there's a feature. Um, Sometimes I like this behavior and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I wish Procreate would allow me to symmetrically select things and move them or manipulate them so that it does all the mirrors of that as well. It just may be a feature that I'm not aware of. Um, so let's create another icon of some kind. I will let's say um, maybe a cup of coffee. Now here's where the maybe I'll go ahead and fill in the contents. Now here's where symmetry does not help. We've got a perfectly looking cup now, but if I were to draw a handle, it's going to draw a handle on both sides. Maybe that's awesome. Maybe you want a two-handed coffee cup. I've never thought of it. Sometimes I really need to double fist some coffee and really take charge of the coffee that I'm drinking. Uh, but for a normal looking coffee cup, you're not going to have two handles. So there's a couple of things we could do. We could either create a new layer on top that does not have assistance turned on. Wait a second. I created a new layer, but then I didn't, something happened. I accidentally undid that. So now I can draw on that other layer and create a handle, or you can turn drawing assistance on any layer on and off pretty easily. So if you open up the layers, tap on a layer, you see all these options: rename, select, copy, fill, and so forth. And one of them is drawing assist, and that's currently checked. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. So I'll switch the view. I wish I could zoom in somehow. I got to figure these things out for future streaming. So there's drawing assist is currently checked. So if I tap on that, that unchecks the option, and now the line is still there because I have drawing guide still turned on, but it's not enabled for this layer. So now I can make that drawing on the side, and then I can come back and turn drawing assist back on. So as you're drawing things, maybe you don't want to draw every icon on the same layer. Maybe you want to draw these icons or embellishments on separate layers. You can easily add new layer, tap on that layer, and then tap drawing assist. And now, while I'm on this layer, I can draw something and it mirrors it. And I can turn that layer on and off, or hide and show that layer separately from the other icons that I've drawn. Let's switch back cameras. I need coffee. Good, tasty, hot beverage. All All right. So we've talked about these mirror type things. Is there anything, Sean? I know you're going to ask me, well, how do I draw something extremely complex and abstract, and these concepts? Well, this again, this is not, this is not the time, Cato. This is not the place. We're is there a any of you that are watching? Is there any icon you would like to see me draw? Something simplistic, something I don't know. Maybe you would put into one of your own doodles or um, add to your own drawings. Because I can think of tech icons, right? There's a maybe I could draw a pencil. And just I love that look. I don't know. It looks almost like a vector type of drawing or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I could fill in for the eraser here, or I could turn drawing assist off and draw a a little shirt clip, pocket clip um, for your. So now it's a mechanical pencil. Um, a gear. All right, so gears are fun. I'll show you a technique for drawing gears that I've learned. I'm going to hide these other layers. Well, maybe not. I'll just, on this layer, I will erase. So, no, drawing assist on. Erase works symmetrically too. So if I erase on one side, it's going to erase on the other. So that's cool. So a gear. What I've learned about drawing gears. There goes my screensaver again. I'm going to get a different computer one of these days to do my streaming. Is a kind of a pro tip to drawing gears is to first draw your top. One way you could do is you could sketch it. You could create a couple of circles, add some things. But if you're just drawing a quick icon, say if you're doing sketch notes or something like that, you really don't have time to sketch it out first. Then the technique is to draw your points. Like here's here's your like 4 points of the top, bottom, left, and right of the gear, and then you come in and add a couple of verticals, and that is the basis for your gear. So I'll draw a circle in the middle, and then I'll just start to fill in okay, not the most perfect looking gear ever. So another but you kind of recognize it as a gear. It almost reminds me of those remember those 45 record uh, adapters you could get for 45 records. I know it doesn't look like that, but that's the thing that I thought of when I saw this. Let's try this again. Let's let's use the technique of sketching. So I will create a new layer. I'm going to hide this other stuff. And on this new layer, I'll turn drawing assist on. I'm going to change the color of my pen to a gray. I'm going to draw a circle, make it a perfect circle. Draw another circle. That's terrible. It's not an onion. Draw another circle. Well, that kind of works. You get the idea. And then, using the same technique I showed earlier, we'll go to another layer on top of this. We'll turn Drawing Assist on, change the color of the pen back to black. And so, just like before, I'm going to start with the, where'd my Drawing Assist? So another pro tip, I'm not wearing a drawing glove, but they do come in handy. So a drawing glove is like this spandex type material that covers these two fingers and the underside of your hand, and that helps with your hand resting on the screen and it not registering as you trying to do something with your hand. Like sometimes my hand resting on the screen will register as a 2-finger tap undo. Really frustrating. I wish, it's not perfect. It's really, the palm rejection is really good, but it's not 100% great. So, a lot of times if I'm doing a lot of drawing, I will put on a drawing glove to just not run into those kinds of frustrations. And you can get a pack of drawing gloves on Amazon for like $5 or something like that. They're not that expensive. I'm actually going to pinch and tilt this drawing to make it a little bit more natural to draw. I'll start with the top and the bottom, and then the sides. And then I'll try to eyeball, kind of dividing in between those things. And then I'll start to draw lines that come straight down or straight in. And now I can connect those. Oops. And same with the circle here in the middle. And now if I turn off this sketch layer underneath, we're left with a better, decent looking gear. Never heard of those gloves? Oh man, I wish I had one right now. Don't know. I've got one in one of my computer bags, and I need to order like five more to just to have around so I don't miss where they are. But yeah, the gloves really, really help. Let's see. Anything else you want me to attempt to draw before we move on to looking at the other symmetry options? Dum, 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 dum. I need some background music. Grab a guitar. All right. So, moving on, going to hide this layer as well and create a new one. We're going to go back to the wrench, and under canvas, we got the drawing guide is still turned on. We're going to edit the drawing guide, and now let's look at the options that are available under Symmetry. So there's vertical, horizontal, which maybe I'll switch to the the other view so you might can see that line and those a little bit more detail. So we got vertical, horizontal, there's quadrant, which turns your drawing into 4 quadrants, and then there's radial. And each one of these, they all have the same option of, is it rotational symmetry on and off and assisted drawing on and off. Honestly, I don't remember what these are, so we'll just play around and see what they do. So with those both left as default, I'm going to leave it on radial. Let's see. Yep. Tap done. Whoops. I changed the color of my lines. So I'm going to tap done up here in the corner. Dun, 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 dun. And now we've got our drawing grid. So I guess if you don't check that box, or maybe if it's unchecked by default, the drawing assist isn't turned on for your current layer. So I'm going to tap on my layer and tap on drawing assist. So now it's assisted. And now when we draw something on one layer, it gets mirrored everywhere, you know, in all the other slices of this drawing. And this is where we can start to do some really fun stuff, like maybe add some little specks of things we can. And let me tell you, this kind of thing is so satisfying. Yeah, I mean, you can just randomly do stuff, whatever it is that you want to, you know, just draw weird things on the page, and the kaleidoscope kind of effect that it generates is just amazing. So, oh no, let's see. You can also do this kind of thing where you're like creating a spiral graph. Now that I've said that, I think one of the apps that's available that does just this thing is called Spirograph or something like that. Remember, some of you that are old enough to remember back in the 80s, maybe, when you would be watching your cartoons on Saturday mornings, and one of the advertisements that would come on was that spiral drawing tool. It looked like gears and stuff that you put on top of your page, and you know, spin around with your pencil or your crayons or markers. I always wanted one of those, never got one. But now you can do that kind of thing with the tools that you have. So let's hide this one, create a new one, turn drawing assist on, and let's use some, maybe create some straighter lines. So you can create straight lines in Procreate same way as that snap feature works. That now the term escapes me, but if you hold down the tip, you draw a little bit and then hold it down, it's going to snap into place. And I don't know, I'm just doodling whatever comes to mind. Really, like I said, this is extremely fun and satisfying, because you can just throw stuff on the page, and you know, even if you have no idea what you're doing, you can create some really interesting results and have a lot of fun with it. let's try changing brushes. So if I choose, I've got a bunch of brushes that I've imported from different places, but the ones that come with Procreate, there's a brushes under sketching and inking. So let's say, I don't know, maybe this sticks, whatever that is. You know, it has, looks kind of like oil pastels or something. Um, you can do just whatever. And now you got yourself a cool background that you can use to put whatever drawing or photo on top of, and do some kind of abstract art and just play with it and have fun. So let's go back and see what that other option is under, whoops, wrong button, gear, um, drawing guide. Hey, you know what? I forgot that I could actually zoom in with the camera. Of course, now you're seeing. Hopefully that'll go away. Let's see if I can make that go away. Did that work? I think so. All right. Drawing guide, edit drawing guide, symmetry, options, and let's turn on rotational symmetry and see what difference that makes. Whoops, keep tapping on the wrong thing. So done. Let's change the brush back to something like this dry ink, maybe. And I'm still seeing some artifacts on the screen from the camera. There we go. Sorry about that. And so now, instead of it completely mirroring what I do, it draws rotationally. That's what the rotation does. Sweet. Now this is the spiral graph. This is the 80s me saying, wow, now I can do that cool spiral graph stuff. That's pretty cool. Immensely satisfying. All right. I think that pretty much is it. The only difference between the if we go back into edit drawing guide, the only difference between radial and quadrant is this, you got 4 sections instead of multiple sections. And I think, let me double check something. Might be one other feature here that's part of this. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's split up into 8 areas. Turn rotational back off and assisted on. So there's 2 dots on the screen here. And I think the one in the middle means we can change where the center point for the drawing assist, and the other dot just allows us to change the rotation. I thought maybe there was a way to change like the number of slices that we have. There might be a way of doing that in this app. I don't know. I know other apps that are designed to do this effect. It's like that's all you can do is draw symmetrical type stuff. I think they give you the ability to create however many slices you want. So let's see what this looks like. So now if I draw, it's anchored here in the corner instead of in the center of the page. Sweet. Getting close to the hour. Are there any other questions or about symmetry or what I've done today? Is there something you want me to attempt to draw? Anything I can answer for you before we go? Do 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 do. I should stop that. Well, thanks for joining me again for another Drawing with Reverend Geek session. I hope this has been informative and enjoyable. Maybe helped you to smile some at some point. I hope this in some small way helps to brighten your day and give you some as a good starting point for this week. I know it helps me. Drawing for me is really a form of self-care because it helps me to focus internally, helps me to calm myself, helps me to focus my mind, get me in a better frame of mind so that I can tackle the day. I know you just like me, you probably have a lot of other things that you've got to focus on today, and I hope this helps you to get you started in a better place. If at any time there's anything I can do for you, any questions that I can answer, anything at all that I can do, you let me know. Best way to get in contact with me is probably Twitter, the same handle that I use here on Twitch, Reverend Geek. If you go to Twitter and look me up on there, my direct messages are open, so you can send me a message or a question or anything at any time, and I will try to help you as best as I can. Until next time, I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day, wonderful week, and we'll get together again soon. Maybe I've been kicking around the idea of doing more of these throughout the week. I feel like on one hand, I'm going to quickly run out of material to talk about or to doodle on, but on the other hand, it's like there's unlimited amount of things we could do together and talk about. But if you have any ideas, if there's anything specific that you want me to cover or do a particular, I'm just an iPad person. I don't have other devices that I can play around with. I sometimes wish that I did, so I could be able to answer questions about drawing on Windows tablets or Android tablets or something like that. But for now, iOS is what I've got, and if there's anything I can help you with on there, be glad to. So if there's something you would like for me to cover in a future stream or something to put out on YouTube. Oh, by the way, subscribe to me not only here on Twitch, but please subscribe to me to my YouTube channel. Same username. So if you go to youtube.com/reverentgeek, you'll find the recordings from my previous Twitch streams out there, as well as a handful of other things, including some songs that I've done recorded on the guitar, and new and more exciting things coming to that channel in the future. At least I have plans to. So please subscribe. Again, hope you have an awesome day. You don't need permission to be awesome. So you get out there and do some awesome things. Thank you, and see you again soon.